Welcome to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. We are on our last episode during Stress Month, Stress Awareness Month, and Dr. Jess and I have really enjoyed the last two episodes talking with mental health counselors and learning everything they had to offer. But today we are super excited to talk with Nicole. But first, Dr. Jess, what do you have in your cup today?
Today, I have some carbonated bubbly water with fresh lemon in it because I'm trying to drink more water and it's something that's a struggle. So sometimes when I put fresh lemon in it, it makes me drink more. So, Dr. Bobby, what's in your glass?
Well, it is the middle of the day, and I typically like to have a kombucha, but I don't have any today. So I am drinking Karma water, which is basically water that you put probiotics in. I don't know if it's
Oh,
as good for you as kombucha, but it's a good substitute.
yeah, it's worth a try, right?
Mhm.
Um, so today we have Nicole with us. She works with the YMCA and wears a lot of different hats in that role. And we'll be asking some questions about stress management. But first, Nicole, do you have a glass of beverage that you are drinking?
I do. And my tastes are just so pedestrian. It's just water. I don't think it's filtered even.
That's okay. That's okay. Some good old H2O. Can't
Yeah,
can't
it's
go
just
wrong.
immunity building water.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Nicole, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I am a mom of two little boys, and I have a husband. He works from home. Boys are a little bit older, so they're at school, which is really nice. And then I have a job. I have a full-time job at the YMCA where I oversee our membership department and then our childcare and also our group fitness programs. So like you said, Jess, I wear a lot of different hats. But there's also a lot of overlap in those departments. So that's nice. But it definitely means that I'm kind of pulled in a lot of different directions throughout the day, which is great because it means that no day is the same. But it also means that you're feeling a bit stretched sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could see where when you've got different departments, different employees, different bosses, different members, where there's not always going to be a win that's going to please everybody. And and when that happens, stress can turn on.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about this month. So you are a
Absolutely.
fantastic person to talk to.
I'm also really lucky to work in an environment that encourages wellness and stress management as well. So, I mean, that is, even though I wear a lot of different hats, I also like have a treadmill 20 feet from my desk. So, that's really great too.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, so that always is a benefit to kind of working at the Y for sure.
Absolutely. So as far as like stress management, right? When did you really first start implementing some of these strategies into your life? When did you become kind of like aware that this was a thing?
Well, I think that when something starts to suffer, when you've got, you're kind of rolling along pretty well, and then you start to feel like the family starts to suffer, or maybe you're not being as intentional at work, or maybe just your well-being in terms of, you're missing workouts, or you're not eating as well, or you find yourself almost in a state of like crisis mode. You talked a little bit almost about that, Jess, like the whole fight or flight. I feel like kind of when, and that's happened to me quite recently, where I've just felt very almost untethered, like I didn't feel grounded. And so I feel like that's when I start to, instead of speeding up and trying to finish it all, I've kind of started to say, okay, can you maybe slow down a little bit? And even if you're not changing anything you're doing, just kind of observing. And that's just kind of helps slow the train down a little bit, at least for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bobby and I can both speak to times in our lives where it's been like this is out of control, right? Like there's too much, and that's the point where it makes you actually put this into the forefront of your brain, and then that's when you start implementing strategies. You don't implement stress management strategies when things are easy.
Float around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's Absolutely fantastic. So like working at the Y, you said that they're very wellness based and
Mhm.
are supportive of that. And I know not every workplace is as
Yeah.
like-minded, but being in an environment like that, what are some like more like specifics that you find are helpful for being in that environment?
We offer quite a few of our like yoga and just kind of, we call them spirit, mind, and body programs, but a lot of our group fitness programs kind of center around that mindfulness or kind of grounded state of being.
Hmm.
So usually, yeah, when things start to hit the fan, I tend to look at the group X schedule and be like, okay, what can I take to just chill out? And that's
Hmm.
always helpful. Also, when you feel almost like your cortisol, your stress hormones, and everything starting to just kind of go crazy, a walk is incredibly helpful. I mean, it's all those things that, people tell you, oh, well, you should just do this, or you should just, take a walk or take a couple deep breaths. They actually work, which is really nice. You just have to slow your body down enough to actually implement them. And that's almost a habit. You know what I mean? Where if it's
Yeah.
not something that you kind of turn to immediately, then you just don't know what you don't know. And so I'm not really wired that way. I'm wired to just try to figure it out and go faster and just stress about it and find the resolution. But I found that I can work so much better when I do eat better, sleep better, meditate, take time to be mindful, take time to slow down, which is always challenging, but I never regret it after I've done it. And I never feel like that
Right.
time was poorly spent.
So many times I find myself in those moments where, like, you said people tell you should take a walk, you should do this, and like you're in that moment, you're like, I don't have time, I don't have time, I have to do this, I have to do this and this. And sometimes when I actually take that time to take that, even if it's a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, you end up coming back like feeling refreshed, like feeling better. So like you're in the end more productive in less time.
Oh,
Well, there's
absolutely.
clarity. I mean, I'd say 90% of the time when I do pause and just allow everything to kind of settle, that solution kind of rises to the surface. And I think when you're in the midst of it and you haven't been successful with that in the past, it's easy to just kind of discount it. But once it works, or once you find some success with that, you're like, okay, yeah, this actually is a good strategy for stress reduction, because stress just isn't going to stop. You do kind of have to be purposeful about it. And that can sometimes feel like another job.
Yes.
But it is, I think, something preventative like any other disease prevention, that you would do.
I feel like a lot of
Absolutely.
is about like balance. We always talk about balance and finding balance. And whenever I just feel pulled in so many directions, I don't know if you've ever read the book by Shonda Rhimes, Year of Yes, or if you've
I've
ever
heard of
heard.
it.
Yeah.
I
So,
was too busy watching Bridgerton, but yeah.
oh my gosh, it's one of those books that I recommend to everyone because it kind of opened my eyes in a way that like it really, but it's an awesome book. But in it, she talks about, so for those of you that don't know who Shonda Rhimes is, she's the person that wrote Grey's Anatomy. I think she might have done like How to Get Away with Murder or something like that, but she's done
Think she
multiple,
did. Yeah.
yeah, multiple TV shows. And one of my favorite quotes from her, and I don't know the quote word for word, but she's talking about people say, how do you do it all? How do you be a mom? How are you writing all these shows? And she looked at him, she just like in the book, she just wrote, I can't. She goes, inevitably, when I am at work, I am failing as being a mother. And when I'm being a mom, I am failing at work. She's like, you can't do it all. And so, like, I always kind of go to that when I just feel like overwhelmed of like, okay, you can't do it all. Like, put your focus 100% here so that way you can then turn to something else later on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
Bobby,
Go
that
ahead.
touches on just giving yourself grace. I mean, sometimes there can be such an exhale with, just like you said, just kind of stopping and going, I'm not going to be 100% successful with all of these tasks. So how can I just show up in some way that's the best I can do? And then hopefully everyone else will understand or not. And then you just have to kind of deal with that. And that's, I mean, because you have to think about what you're ultimately sacrificing. And I feel like in my most recent position, that's really what I found, is that when I'm waking up at 3 a.m. and the first thing I'm doing is checking my phone and trying to figure out the rest of my day. It's like, that is not sustainable. So and that's not going to stop. That's going to be a constant. So how are you going to kind of decide that you're just not going to do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, professionally, it's very easy to get so into what you're doing that you don't put up your barriers and those borders of saying like, this is where I'm going to like say I'm done with this, and then transition into the next role of whatever that role is. You know, if you've got to go pick up kids, or like if it's in the morning, you've got to help, you know, get yourself ready, get your kids ready, you know, get out the door. But like having that like definitive line of like, I'm not going to check my email until work starts. Or
Mhm.
if I do, because I do need to structure my day and I do need to check, that I'm just going to check, but then I'm not going to implement anything. I'm not going to answer emails. I'm just going to make sure that like when I'm walking in, I know what I'm walking into. So I'm not walking in unprepared. But yeah, that is a big part, I think, of stress management, right? Is saying like, I have to like delineate the time that I'm spending in my different roles, because otherwise, I mean, I like us being in patient care. I mean, you know, it doesn't stop. I mean, you've got documentation, you've got the emails, you've got, you know, all like so much that goes on with it that like I could, you know, when I'm on vacation, I could easily log in and have a lot of stuff that I could do. Or I could say, you know what, Monday morning is going to come, whether I am well rested and recovered, or it's going to come and I'm not well rested and I'm not recovered. And I will be actually better at my job if I'm rested and recovered than if I'm not. But I've had to learn that the hard way. Yeah.
I
When
read and oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think that there also needs to be some conversation about that's going to be really hard at first. It's like a
Yes.
diet. It's like, anything that you try that you're really uncomfortable with because you've been kind of skating around surviving. I
Hmm.
mean, you've been in crisis mode, but you've been surviving
Right.
up
Right.
until now. So to kind of make those boundaries, that the anxiety that creates can almost feel like, well, this is way worse than if I just check my email. And so, I mean, I
Right.
feel like there really needs to kind of be this reminder that yes, you will feel that anxiety initially, but then the
Mhm.
benefits just so far outweigh any kind of negative because of your mental state is so much better. Like you said, Jess,
Mhm.
Monday's coming whether you want it to or not. You're either
Yeah.
rested or you're stressed.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are times where you're going to have to potentially you're going to have to prepare for that initial Monday morning, right? Or, you know, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, who cares, right? There's going to be like sometimes where you are going to need to do something to make that a win when you come in. Otherwise, you might walk into a whole heap, and then had you just prepared for 5 to 10 minutes, your whole day could have gone better. So like, you know, if that is really going to make a difference or not. And so there's like an honesty with yourself, which is, I mean, I'm saying it to me, there's an honesty with yourself that you have to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I just was on vacation and I just like I had my computer ready to open up to like look at the schedule for Monday to do, you know, like log in and just make sure, and like, do I have cosigns that I need to do? There, you know, just all the stuff. And I was like, no, I'm tired. We've been
Mhm.
driving all day. I like, we had to unpack, we had, you know, all this stuff. Like, no, like I'm exhausted right now. If I open this up, it's going to take me 3 times as long to look at it because my eyes are so fatigued because I'm tired. You
Yeah.
have to go to bed and get rest. Like Monday morning will be here. Just get in a little early.
Mhm.
You know, like the 5 minutes that it would take on Monday morning is going to take me 30 minutes when my eyes are really tired. So, but again, like this is something where I was like, you know what? Think about this. Is this going to actually help you sleep better or not? And I was like, it's actually not. So I said no, which was like big. That's big for me.
That's good.
Right?
It is
Yeah.
good. And I think the amount of self-awareness that took, I mean, that's a big leap for people. So again, it's that permission to
Hmm.
let yourself not be busy,
Right.
that's okay. even if it's
Right.
just in this space, that's okay.
Every little win,
Yes.
count it
That's
as a win. Yes.
I've
Yeah.
read, and I don't remember where I read, but it's something like what you do in the first 20, 30 minutes of your day. And this is something I've worked on. What you do the first 20, 30 minutes of your day is going to set your day. So even if you can't, um, even if you still want to check that, don't do it in the first. Don't do it when you first get up. And um, so for you guys, like being married, you have significant other kids. For me, it's just me in the morning. So I was finding myself the first thing you do when you wake up, you grab your phone, check social media. It's my way I connect with others because I don't have anyone around me in the morning to connect with, you know.
Mhm.
And it was just crazy, like when I made that switch of like, no, like I'm not gonna check my phone in the morning with social media. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna get up, drink, or get my cup of coffee, get my water, whatever I need to do, and then I can do that. And just kind of changing that little around a little bit definitely changed how my days go for sure.
Mhm.
Well, for you, Bobby, that puts you first. I mean, I imagine most of your day is not in that space. You know
No,
what I mean?
yeah,
I
Right.
imagine that, most of your day is putting others first. And I think that, I mean, that's a gift. It really is, to kind of spend that 30 minutes
mhm.
just being you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely. For those that don't do it, I suggest it was definitely It was hard though, as you said. It's a really hard habit, and like
Mhm.
I even tried taking like Facebook off my phone for a little bit. Um, but it was like I can't tell you how many times I went and I clicked, and my thumb knew exactly where Facebook was supposed to be on that phone,
Yeah.
Click, click, and then like scrolling and it's stressed because oh look at they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this, and like I get off and I'm like, what the heck am I doing to myself?
Yeah. Just kind of silly. It's silly how it's things that we know don't work for us, yet we still do it, you know? And like how long we still do those things before we're like, maybe I should make a change. Like it's kind of funny. But saying that, like, so Nicole, what are some things that you in the past were like using as strategies that were like, why finally we're like, why am I doing this?
Well, I mean, Bobby, you nailed it. I mean, that, just kind of that mindless, I get looking for an escape that wasn't a real stress reducer. So I think about
Yeah.
Facebook, I think about binge watching too much television, maybe using food as an escape, using, something that maybe in the short term was beneficial because it was quick. I didn't have to think about anything else. And it was kind of a lazy way to be mindful.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I realized, there was a certain amount of guilt, and I mean, all that stuff that kind of in the back of your head tells you, this isn't really what this isn't the biggest bang for your buck. You know what I mean? In terms of what maybe you should be doing to kind of help yourself reduce your stress. And so for physical activity has always been a big part of my life. And I've been very lucky that I've always kind of had that knee jerk reaction to turn to that when I felt anxious, when I felt, just that things were kind of out of control. That's always been a very centering kind of activity for me. So, I mean, my biggest strategy is kind of those walks in the morning, weightlifting, cardio, just exercise. That I feel like if I have not done that, then I'm really just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know that, that's a luxury for some people. Not everybody has that kind of time benefit. But with this new position and the hours being so much more than I had to work in the past, that I've really had to kind of almost be selfish with that time, have discussions with my family about, this is the time that I'm going to go work out. I want us to support each other. And I want, mostly to my husband, it's very important to me and I need your support. And we've been able to kind of work together to make sure that happens. But just prioritizing that, honestly, and even just prioritizing that is a stress reducer because it is something
Yep.
that you can control. And I mean, if you are kind of wired that way, if you do like control in your life, that's helpful. It's like, okay, I know that the whole day might be crazy, but I've got this to kind of look forward to that I know is not, that is for me, that does feel good, that I'm, going to be able to kind of siphon off little bits of that, hopefully throughout the day to feel a little bit more just calm.
Mhm.
And when I don't, I regret it. When I decide I'm
Yep.
going to watch another episode of whatever instead of going to the gym. I'm like, oh, I was resting, but I don't feel
It's not
peaceful.
the same.
It's
Yeah,
not the same.
it
And
just
you know that,
isn't.
Jess. I mean, you're
Yeah,
at being so active. It's like
like
there's very little that compares.
yeah, no, it's just like I do the same thing where I'll start to get into a little bit of a rut where I'm like running low on time. I'm still trying to finish some projects for work or whatever it might be. And luckily my husband knows me well enough now that he'll be like, are you leaving for your run? Meaning like I'm a better person to be around. Because otherwise I stay in that work mode. I
Yes.
stay in that like intense getting this done. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go. And I don't transition out of it as well. Like if I just go for like, even if I just do a jog around the neighborhood as my son's riding his bike, it might only even be a half mile. Like if that's all we have time for because of darkness or whatever it might be. But that little bit will actually like I completely will come out of work mode and I come back into home mode where I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? Like,
Well,
how are you?
it's a return to yourself, to your
Right.
best self, to that
Right.
that self that you are proud of, that you kind of have been trying to find, I think, all day, because you give pieces of it away throughout your workday.
Right.
So
Yep. But yeah, no, I think like scheduling it is key. So like you can have the in the moment, like I'm going to take some deep breaths, like something just triggered me, or, maybe somebody just said something, or I had an interaction with an employee or coworker or boss or somebody that is frustrating, or whatever the situation might be. Like I have the in the moment techniques that I do, but then also I have these like bigger strategies that I do, like you said, where you schedule it into your day. And that's, I mean, I'm really, really big on my runs. And if somebody tries to schedule in my run time, and I have a firm no, like I have a very, very firm no of like, I am not available at that time. And I'm like, well, what, the answer is no. Like I have given it away too many times and I suffer. My
Yeah.
family suffers. So the answer is no. So it is a hard schedule when I put that in. And if it's raining outside, then I'll come inside and use the rower or, do
right.
something else inside. I prefer to run, but like I do have the alternative for bad weather days. So yeah, I think that's huge how you put it into the schedule. And that's like, I know by the end of the day that like I'll be able to like debrief myself. I'll be able to like work through whatever it is that was going on that day. And you're going to give yourself that time. So yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. One of the other things that you had touched on was meditation. So what kind of forms of meditation do you like and try?
I much prefer guided meditation. I think that's
Yeah.
probably because I'm way too chaotic and actually like not think about just everything. Things that I haven't thought about in years are going to pop up when I turn all my technology and try to. So there have just been some great apps that it's almost a meditation of staying in tune with the voice, or the kind of just the background noise, like the ocean or the whatever. I found that those forms of meditation are most successful to me, just because sometimes silence can just be really uncomfortable. And but like anything else, meditation is a habit too. I mean, the first, I think, probably month of meditation can be really awkward, and then before you know it, you've kind of fallen into this pattern where you miss it when you don't do it, and that kind of touches on what you said, Bobby, about, how are you going to spend the first 30 minutes of your day? Whenever I spend the first 30, well, I mean, I say I'd meditate for about 10 minutes. When I spend that first 10 minutes, when that's the priority, it's almost like you can tap back into that throughout the day. There's like this residual kind of peace through your day where when things go, you feel them spinning up. It's like that 10 minutes. I don't know, it turns the volume down or something. And I'm not a scientist. I don't know how to explain it for somebody else. One of your previous guests could probably explain it a lot better. Just anecdotally, it is amazing how you can tap into that. It's like a reserve or something. I mean, and I feel like when I'm not doing it, I'm much more likely to snap your head off.
I
I work in the customer service business, so
you don't want that.
can't do that. That doesn't
I don't tend to do mine in the morning. I actually, and I have an app that I use, and it's free. I use it at night to go to bed. So like in the exact same sense though, like you were saying, you know, it kind of calms down. You can tap back in. Like at night for me, when I'm trying to go to bed and my day's been all over the place, and you got this and you're thinking this and I gotta do this for tomorrow and this. So like I put that on, and it's there's different lengths of them. They go from like 3 minutes to like 30 minutes, and it basically puts you to sleep, and then you can leave the back. So like once the meditation's done, then it leaves on noise, so white noise in the background. And I found like that has been super helpful in like being able to fall asleep, and not have your brain be reviewing everything that you need to do in the next week, you know.
Absolutely. That's what I do. I use guided meditation as well, because meditation was first explained to me, or like I guess brought to my attention when I was an undergrad. And I want to say it was in one of my, like maybe a health psychology class or something like that. And so we all sat there and we kind of did breathing and we practiced, and it was like, okay, now visualize a flame. And I was like,
yes.
like, I don't see a flame anymore. Where'd the flame go? I see this, I see that, I see my
then
homework,
it's
I
stressful
got this, I
because where
got
did the
that.
flame
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, back to the flame. I still don't see it. Wait, I think I can see it. Did I see a flame? What color is a flame? A blue flame, an orange flame? I don't know. I like orange. You know, it was just like, like just it didn't, I don't know. And I tried. I really did try, but like it was such, like my thoughts were just so all over the place. And then when I found guided meditation, I was like, this I can do. This I like. This resonates with me. And I think, Nicole, how you're saying how when you start your day with even just 10 minutes, how that kind of taps into it helps with how you think, right? And just like, and plus, like if you correlate some breathing with it, because oftentimes, you know, if you listen to a guided meditation, they'll kind of start with some breathing exercises where you're not doing like deep breathing the whole time, but like you do some nice like deeper inhales and exhales to just kind of get some of that cyclic nature going. And then that is, it just like is a way of your brain to remember like, oh wait, I should do that. That just immediately worked a couple of hours ago versus like, you know, months ago, or I heard it somewhere, or it's a normal practice. And so as you start to practice something, it becomes habitual. And then the habit then is a nice positive habit. So yeah, no, I am a guided meditationer.
And I think it also it taps into, I mean, we're so much smarter than we give ourselves credit for if we would just kind of get out of our own way. You know what I mean? And so I think that it really does tap into, or it allows your mind the space to kind of remind yourself of what you already know. You know, you are able to calm down. You are a you know, we're at the top of the food chain with the brain, and you know, we can just chill out, and that can be really hard to do if it's not intentional, if you're not kind of setting that intention and making an effort to do that, because life will just sweep you up.
I did one of those.
Absolutely.
You guys ever done one of those sensory deprivation where like the saltwater tank where you lay in there and it's like pitch
I
black?
have not yet.
Okay, so I did it and I failed miserably.
I was like, I don't know if I would do well.
Like splashing, like trying to find, I couldn't, like, I need something to help me there. Like, it was like, finally, I was like, I couldn't fall asleep. So I'm like playing, like, how I can open my legs. Like, can I turn myself around in this thing? Like, I'm finding everything I can do to, like, not tap out and be like, can you let me out?
Yeah.
But it also kind of played a part that, like, I couldn't relax for an hour. Like, I couldn't physically lay there without some external stimuli. And I was like, that's not a good thing. You know, but I was like, I couldn't, like, I had to make some game in there or something, because like I couldn't just lay there.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
It was.
It is.
It was a really long time.
But I think that is where the practice comes in, right? And so that, like, that to me, that's like another level of being able to like be in sensory deprivation. So like starting at an hour would be like telling somebody that doesn't run to go run for an hour.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? I mean, really,
Yes.
like I wouldn't last for an hour,
No.
like I'm too hyper for that. But if that was, something where I would do for like maybe 2 to 3 minutes and then 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and really start to understand how to be mindful without having to deal with distractions, because our brains are so used to distractions all the time that it's not used to not having distractions. And so then it's like it doesn't know what to do.
Yeah,
So
it
it's finding
was a weird
distractions.
sensation, a
Yeah.
weird, because you don't have light, you don't have hear, you don't have anything,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would have probably done a counting technique to get through it. Like in any, like if I was in an MRI, I would do a counting technique. I probably would have done the same thing of like, how much longer do I have in here? Okay, let's see if we can just get through it. Like that. I mean,
Not
but
that
I
it
do
wasn't
think
a
it's
bad experience. It was
no,
eye-opening of like, I need this, but I definitely failed miserably with it.
right. Yeah. Just, I think, yeah, starting with smaller bits would probably be where we get some better wins. But I think I've avoided it. So it's like, I'm not gonna pay for that.
Right? Because yeah, like you pay for an hour. It was a gift too. So like my
Yeah.
my friend was on the other side. It's not like two, my friend was there and I was there and it was a gift from them. And I was just like, well, I'm gonna lay here. I'm not gonna step out
Trying to
of
like
this.
knock and be like, how are you doing?
Right.
I think that defeats the purpose, but
Right.
that's what I would have been trying to do. Are you having trouble too? Like, yeah. Oh, awesome. So what we'll do is we're gonna start to wrap it up, and overall, we're gonna this is ending our stress awareness month series, and then next month is the month of May, and we're going to be going into mental health awareness. So it's similar to stress awareness, mental health awareness, but we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into some other strategies with mental health and just bringing some conversations up to the forefront of our conversation. We're going to have a couple mental health counselors that we're going to be talking with, and just, and doing some individuals interviews as well. So stay tuned for that. And each week we have a challenge, right? So the challenge this week is to try and let's have a challenge with meditation, right? So why don't we say one time to try to implement a meditation strategy, whether it's guided meditation or looking at the flame or like whatever meditation strategy that
Maybe
would
not
work.
the deprivation
Yeah,
tank.
Yeah,
maybe not an
definitely.
hour. Maybe
Yeah.
start with something that's a little bit easier to bite off.
Yes.
But yeah, why don't we have that be our challenge for the week? So thank you so much, Nicole. And
Thank you.
we really appreciate the conversation. And thank you so much for being vulnerable with us and sharing
Yes, thank
sharing
you.
some of your strategies. So
Sounds good.
And reach out,
awesome.
everyone, if you need some ideas on where to find meditation apps.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.